and I would like to welcome you all to the first opening seminar of the Asian Student Leadership Association of America. I'm Brian.
And I'm Amy. So the questions that we asked you all to ask yourselves today is first, why are we an Asian American Leadership Association? And second, what's the goal for this event? Overall in the US, Asian Americans are viewed as model minorities on the basis of education and academic achievement. However, they are not viewed as ideal leaders. In order to change that, the stories that these speakers give today should serve as an inspiration for you all to take that sense of leadership that they have and apply it to your own lives.
Now, I'd like to emphasize the point that when you come to this seminar, leaders are taught, not born. So leadership is just like sports or academics, where it all depends on when you start. And from that point on, it just becomes natural. The mission of ASLA, our organization, is to promote and develop the leadership skills of Asian students specifically, which will increase their presence in America overall. Today, we are honored to have 3 exceptional speakers talk about their own leadership experiences and also give us advice on leadership regarding the college application. First off, our first speaker today is Willie Xiao. Willie Xiao, he is currently a junior at Harvard University, and he has held several key leadership positions throughout high school, such as in debate and in Boy Scouts, which have helped him develop into a very strong community leader. Now, aside from this, Willie has also been a keynote speaker at several events, such as the 27th annual Peach of an Athlete Role Model Banquet. Aside from his qualifications, though, I would also like to mention that Willie is my personal friend and role model. As I've been personally inspired by Willie in the past, I am now honored to present him to all of you. Everyone, please welcome Willie.
Alright, how's everyone doing today? Good? Can everyone hear me? Everyone in the back? Good? Cool. So I titled the talk today, 3 Principles and 3 Hacks to Leadership. I'm not going to go through and sort of provide a framework for how to be a leader in your everyday life. I think you can read up on that. I'm not really going to focus on how to optimize for college apps. Andy's going to talk about that a little bit. I'm really focusing on giving some actionable and specific things that you can do, maybe right after today, right when we leave, to make yourself more of a leader. Cool. So, first a little bit about myself. As Brian said, my dear friend Brian who said, I'm a Harvard student. I'm graduating in 2016, and I studied computer science and statistics. At Harvard, I was the executive director of something called the Small Claims Advisory Service. This is the thing that I poured my passion into in college. This is what I woke up thinking about every day. What we do is we provide free legal information for people going to small claims court in Massachusetts. So we helped roughly 1,125 clients in 2013. It was very exciting. It's something that personally I feel very fulfilled doing. And then also I co-founded a company with a few of my friends called FinTech. Small tech company. We were in an incubator, but then we got shut down by the school. You can ask about that later if you want. Cool, so that's me in college, and this is me in high school. My claim to fame is I was one of Brian Hu's training partners in high school for ping pong. It was a lot of fun. Everyone should laugh. Anyways, I went to Westminster High School. It's a private school in Buckhead. And I was a Eagle Scout. That's Russell from up, and me next to Russell, with 1 merit badge. And I was a national semifinalist policy debater. Alright, so some leadership positions that I held in high school. And I think I'm going to tailor my talk specifically to leadership and not college apps, as I explained before. The 2 big things I think that are illuminating for my leadership is the 2 positions that I held, 2 different positions that I held in high school. One of them is with the Boy Scouts of America. I'm on the planning committee for the 2019 World Scout Jamboree. This is an event that happens every 4 years. We expect roughly 50,000 to 60,000 people to attend in 2019. It's going to be in West Virginia. And I'm one of 3 scouts from the United States on this planning committee. This is sort of a very legitimate, like, propped up leadership position that is kind of hard to get to and has a lot of mentorship and a lot of resources dedicated to it. In 2015, we're going to go to Japan to kick off the marketing campaign. And so that's like one side of leadership, is this aspect of like these positions that exist in the world that you can go off and try to become a part of. On the other hand, I also ran a ping pong tournament when I was in high school, and this was extremely scrappy. This is something that I decided to do when I was a sophomore in high school, and I ran off and started like finding a place to do it, finding an umpire, finding sponsorships to get money for. And that's like a totally different world. No one told me how I should have done it. No one told me what I should try to accomplish out of it, how many people I should expect. And so I ran it from 2010 to 2012, and it was run in 1 year since I left. So 2013 it was run for an extra year while I was in college by some other people. And it was fun. We had 65 participants in 2012, and we were featured on 11 Alive News. We got some good sponsors. So essentially the point of giving this background for high school is just that there are many ways to approach leadership. There are many ways to find leadership positions in high school, and I think this is illuminating in that you can try to go for these positions that everyone knows about, or you can like do something yourself that's a project. And I happen to have experience in both of these. So that's a good start. Oh. Okay. So before I begin, one critique that I have today. Yeah, my critique today is that both of the non-keynote speakers went to or are going to Harvard. So Andy and I both graduated. Andy graduated from Harvard. I'm currently a Harvard student. And I think this really creates a false sense of what you guys should be here for. If you guys are here just to get something for college admissions or just to find a way to get into Harvard, I think it's going to be sad. You're not going to get as much as you can out of it. Asians represent 15 to 25% of Ivy League schools, but about 2% of the top executives of Fortune 500 companies. I think part of this is most of our parents are academics, most of our parents are professionals, and they're immigrants. And what they wish on you is they want you to have a happy life, and they want you to be comfortable and successful. And I think once those desires are fulfilled, it's hard to continue to strive to change the world at the next level. So my goal today, instead of talking about college, is I want to give you insight into becoming a leader at a young age, and to optimize for that leadership in your long-term growth. Cool? Yeah, so before I start with the 3 principles and 3 hacks, quick question to the audience. How many people are seniors in high school? Okay, cool. If you're currently applying to college, unclear if this talk will help you with that process. You should work on your essay in the next week. How many people are juniors? Okay, cool. Also, this talk will be optimized, I guess, to sophomores and under. So if you're a junior, this is not going to help a ton for college again. It will help you in the long term, but in terms of college, if you're a junior now, I would say like try to cash out on a lot of the leadership positions you have. Make those concrete, talk to teachers, and make sure your recommendations are going to be ready, and then start thinking about what you're going to write for your essay. Yeah. So, anyone who's a parent and anyone who's a sophomore or younger, this is some things that you can implement. Okay, principle number 1. You should try to make decisions that have consequences for you and ideally have consequences for other people. Yeah, so what do I mean by this? In 2010, I had to plan a camp out for our Boy Scouts districts, and this was over 600 people who attended. And for 6 months, I led a team of adults and youth to plan the event. But on the weekend of the camp out, the weather was terrible. A few troops didn't even show up because there was a tornado watch. This is for Boy Scouts, by the way. That wasn't clear. The second night, I had to make a decision either to continue with the final campfire, which is usually the biggest event of the weekend, or to let everyone stay dry in their campsites. And a story of a tornado killing like 4 scouts had just made like national headlines the weekend before. So I was extremely unsure, and I was nervous, and I was fearful of making this decision. And I looked to my adult assistants for advice, But they made it agonizingly clear that the decision would fall on me as to whether or not we should continue with this final campfire. And I was like 15 at the time, so I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. So ultimately, we decided to continue with the campfire. We spent 45 minutes trying to mobilize the 600 participants and march them off to an outdoor auditorium. And as soon as the program started, a flash of lightning went across the sky and a torrential downpour came down upon us. We had to give up, and we moved everyone under a hard-roofed pavilion. But it was too late. Everyone was wet, people were unhappy, everyone was stuck in this pavilion, and it was a failure. It was a failure in the sense that there'd be scouts who got sick because of the decision I made. It's a failure because troops would not come back the next year because of the decision I made. But ultimately, this experience taught me to take necessary risks without fearing failure. No one knew at the time what the correct decision was, but someone has to make that decision. So you'll learn quickly from these experiences that you shouldn't be afraid of making people unhappy. Someone is always going to be unhappy when you change the status quo. The second is you get better at making judgment calls. I think one way to find a good space to begin making decisions that have consequences is with yourself. And this is probably relevant to most people in this room, but as parents, you have to let kids make their own decisions and have consequences as a result of those decisions. So when you're deciding on which extracurriculars you want to do, that's a decision you have to make, not your parents. Your parents should even let you make decisions within your family. I think, for instance, you can plan a vacation for your family. You can decide on the logistics of relatives arriving. But all of these essentially are small risks and small decisions that you have to take, but they will make you a better decision maker and give you better judgment as you get older. Reduce the safety net is essentially what I'm saying. Let the failures hurt. And another way to do this in high school is to plan a project on your own from start to finish. The ping pong tournament that I planned is a good example. This talk is a good example, planned by the students. There's a lot of good examples of projects we see from high school students, which are ways for you to track down a problem and to solve it. If you ever in high school find yourself in a position in which you're not making, if you find yourself in a position any semester in high school in which you're not making decisions that have consequences, you have to change that. You either need to find a leadership position or you need to make your own project. But you have to be making decisions for a group of people constantly throughout high school. I think that's the goal. And ultimately, that is good for college, if you want to apply it that way. It's good for your life, too. So this is also why, to become an Eagle Scout, you have to finish an Eagle project. That takes about a year of planning. This is why oftentimes the most successful people are people who are very independent from a very young age. All right, this is a quote from the Harvard Business Review. I'll read it now. When a leader shows consistently good judgment, little else matters. When he or she shows poor judgment, nothing else matters. If you read the rest of it, at the end it says, the most effective leaders make a high percentage of successful judgment calls at the times when it counts the most. You want to start making those judgment calls, not when it counts the most. You want to start making those judgment calls today. Cool? All right, principle number 1. All right, now we're moving on to the hack side. I'll give you hack number 1. To quickly describe what is a hack, it's like a quick little thing that you can implement in your life that'll make your life a lot easier. That's a definition from Urban Dictionary. Essentially, it's a cool way of saying it's a good idea. Hack number 1, stay busy. Disciplining yourself to stay busy can mean the difference between 40 hours a week put in after school and 20 hours a week. Let's say school gets out at around 3:30 and you're going to go to sleep at 11:30. That's 8 hours of time a day after school, 5 times a week, that's 40 hours a week. You can work a full-time job, theoretically, and you'll still have your weekends. It's extremely easy to waste 25 to 50% of that time after school every single day. Extremely easy. One key point of this is as an executive of a company, your day is broken into 15-minute chunks. That's how you operate on a daily basis. You don't have time to sit down and do hours of work on one thing. So you better see if you're happy to do that for the rest of your life, if your goal is to become an executive of a company. One of the biggest personal hacks that I've found is don't ever play video games. I'm sorry, I apologize. That's unfair, but video games are on another level of time wasting. If you watch a lot of movies, or if you if you watch a lot of movies, if you watch TV shows, at least there's a storyline, and there's something you're understanding. You can watch Lord of the Rings, and like you might otherwise read the book, but if you watch the movie, you still get the story, you still get this build-up, you still understand something more fundamental about humanity. But like video games is literally you're doing the same repetitive thing over and over again, and it's a sunk cost. If you're like super good at League of Legends, and you're like making a name for yourself, like go off and do that. But otherwise, like stop playing video games. It's like the biggest time suck. Sorry, kids. If you're a parent looking at your kids happily right now, please do not do that either. Like this is a decision they have to learn themselves. You can't force them to not play video games either. So, cool. Alright, principle number 2. Be contrarian when you know something that others do not. This is in the same vein as you should be irreverent to authority in the mainstream. If your goal is to like, you know, in the world there's like this normal bell curve of human beings. If your goal is to like be outside of the bell curve of human beings, then you better know something that everyone in the middle of this bell curve does not know. You better be doing something or know something that others don't. In those instances, don't be afraid to step out of the boundaries of social pressure. So, for instance, if you're a boy who's good at dancing, you're in high demand, you're in very high demand for ballet. Like, if that's something that you love and you're good at, you can more easily excel in that than, say, breakdancing, right? Like, there are structures set up in ballet that will recognize how good you are. There are structures that will, like, lead you to grow in ballet that may or may not exist in breakdancing. So that's something that like it's kind of hard to walk away from, but it's extremely difficult to fight the social pressures against it. But if you truly know a secret, which is that you're good at ballet and that this will like get you somewhere, then seek that out and don't be afraid to make those decisions. So let's take a look at like Mark Zuckerberg, for example. He took a contrarian path. He studied a lot of classics in high school. He studied psychology. So Mark Zuckerberg is the founder of Facebook. He studied classics in high school and psychology in college. And that's, a lot of people would say that this is a contrarian path. Why didn't he study economics? Why didn't he study computer science? Well, it's not that he didn't want to study computer science. He already knew computer science. He knew a lot of it before going to college. He did take a lot of computer science classes, but he knew a secret that other people did not, which is that there's something fundamental in this link between psychology and computer science. So he wasn't doing something different from the mainstream just to be different. You shouldn't like try to seek out like trying to be different just to be unique. A lot of people go into college looking for a major that they think they're going to love and they think is interesting because no one else is doing it. It's like maybe interesting, but also you should like think twice about it. Are you really going to that major because you think it's like interesting to you, or is it because you're avoiding competition, right? Like these are things that you have to think about. But essentially the point is like don't try to be different for the sake of being different. Be different if you understand something that other people do not, and you know how to capitalize on that. You have a vision on what to capitalize on that. Cool. So for instance, like dropping out of school for Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, like zero risk. At any point, they can choose to go back to Harvard. At any point, they have multiple job offers lined up for them. So it's like, for them, like that, dropping out of school is not, like, you're like, oh, take a risk, drop out of school. No, it's not a risk. Cool. Yeah. Principle number 2, be contrarian only if you know what's good. All right, hack number 2, learn public speaking. This one's pretty obvious. If you've never taken a public speaking class, or have done anything that allows you to practice this every other day for like a month, you have to find that thing, and find that as quick as possible. I was terrible at this when I entered 9th grade. Then I took a class, I did debate, I talked to people, and even now, it's something that I continue to practice. Even now, before coming up here, I have a sticky note of things that I want to work on for this speech. Yeah. Whenever you speak in class, while answering questions, or when talking on the phone, is an opportunity for you to practice public speaking. It's an opportunity for you to practice your rhetoric and your flow. This is immensely important, and this itself opened a world of opportunities for me. In my senior year, I gave about 4 Boy Scout fundraising events, one of them that Brian mentioned. And it was really cool. I got to meet John Smoltz, who was like an ex-MLB baseball pitcher. I met Saxby Chambliss, who was one of our senators. And it's how I was able to get a position with the World Scout Jamboree thingy that I was talking about before. And it's something that you can put on your college app. It's as simple as that, like learn public speaking, find a forum to practice it, and do it as soon as possible. Yeah, you can go to that later. principle number 3, read books, develop opinions, test those opinions. We do not live in New York City. We live in North Fulton County. The world does not come to us. Johns Creek, Georgia is in one of the top 100 richest cities in the United States. The median household income is $136,000 a year. When 9/11 happened, we did not feel it in our community as you would feel it if you lived in an urban center. When the financial crisis hit in 2008, few of our homes were foreclosed. And even today, no one blocks traffic through the streets of your neighborhood protesting the deaths of Michael Brown and Eric Garner. This is something that is away from us. We're in a bubble. We live in a bubble, and social problems don't just present themselves to us when we're here. We only understand them through the internet and through reading. If you go anywhere outside of our bubble for a moment, you'll realize that the world is constantly in flux and constantly changing, something I didn't realize for the stable life that I had when I was in high school. If you grew up in New York, you wouldn't have to constantly try to do this. You wouldn't have to try to push yourself out of the bubble because the world is at your doorstep. When you walk out into the world, when you ride the subway, you see the world. That's not true when you live in suburbia. You're in home, you drive around, you go to school. Those are the only things that you get to touch. As a leader, you ought to have an opinion of the world that others disagree with. Through startups and projects and leadership positions, you can test those views of the world and iterate on those views of the world. But to do it, you first have to learn something about the world, and you have to get your hands dirty. So you have to read books, read the news, and understand the world around you and the social problems that you cannot touch if you grew up just in Johns Creek. All right, hack number 3. Learn to drive as early as possible. Literally, this is a literal statement, I mean this. The day you turn 15, you should try to go get your permit. And the day you turn 16, you should drive yourself around. Why? Like what I said before, if you imagine from middle school and elementary school, kids in New York are just going wherever they want to go. My friends in New York, when they were 10, can do whatever it is that they want to do. If there's a protest in the city, if there's an event at a local art museum, if they need to go to debate practice, they can just up and go to those things. The idea of a university is that you want to bring smart people together in the same location so that they can easily communicate and they can easily talk. New Yorkers can go and seek this out when they're 10 years old. We can't do this until we're 16. We have to ride around with our parents. That's so scary. Your freedom to travel is one of the most important things in tracking down opportunities and accomplishing tasks. Going to the store to buy supplies for an after-school program, or going to meet with a potential sponsor for your robotics team or for your ping pong tournament, none of these can be done unless you can drive yourself. You will always be hindered by your parents' schedules. When you get an opportunity to essentially grow your own pair of legs in a suburban neighborhood, you ought to take that opportunity as soon as possible and run with it. I understand this is a very hard decision for many parents, but I think this is one of the biggest differentiators between my friends who could accomplish tasks and those who could not, which is this ability to travel freely. These are experiences that grow your judgment and ultimately that grow your decision-making ability. It's this freedom to think on your own, this freedom to do things yourself and to test them in the world. Even more fundamentally, would you want, if you were a college interviewer, would you be impressed if a kid was dropped off by their parent to the interview, or would you rather have them drive themselves? Okay. It's something you can ask. All right. Oh, there's a recent Facebook chat I had with Brian Hu. So I was chatting and he was texting while he was driving. Don't do that. Alright, so quick recap, the 3 principles. Make decisions that have consequences for yourself, and ideally that have consequences for other people, like real consequences. Be contrarian when you know something that others don't. And read books, develop opinions, test those opinions. 3 hacks: stay busy, learn public speaking, and learn to drive as early as possible. Wait. Alright, well they deleted a slide, but I have suggestions for 2 books that I think everyone should read. The first book just came out in September, and I read it 3 days ago. It's called 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. He's the founder of PayPal, and he's one of the founders of the Thiel Fellowship, which is a fund that encourages college students to drop out of college and gives them $200,000 to do whatever it is that they want to do in the startup world. So it's called 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. And then the second book is Freakonomics by Levitt and Dubner. That's a slightly older book, but it's one way of informing your opinion and making you skeptical about the world around you, which I think is very important. Yeah, that's me. Feel free to hit me up. My contact, definitely feel free to hit me up. My contact information is up there. Just email me. You get my website. All right.
First off, thank you, Willie, for that extremely insightful speech on leadership, and I will deeply reflect on my texting while driving habits. Because of time constraints, we can take 2 questions for Willie regarding his presentation if there are any. Does anybody have any? Yes.
So I guess the question was how to adapt the 3 principles in choosing a major when you go to college.
No, I'm considering you as an example. How you choose your major and
how I chose my major.
Apply the principles.
Good question. So I guess I came into college wanting to be a lawyer. I wanted to go into politics. And then I took a computer science class, and I found out I really liked it. I was pretty good at it. And there's a world that you can build. If you have the ability to engineer solutions, you have the ability to build solutions to the world's problems. And something I fell in love with immediately. It's something I started doing and was immediately empowering. And so I really like that. I think right now, one of the fastest ways, one of the most viral ways and fastest ways to gain a lot of responsibility in the world is to work at a small tech startup. It's like on fire right now. Not sure if that's like the right way to do it. Not sure if that's like something that's going to be. Not sure if that's something that's going to exist in like 10 years or 5 years from now. But that's one way of growing yourself as a leader, is to throw yourself into that position. I don't know if that really answers the question, but I think it's really partially yes. Yeah. Sorry, what? Good question. My parents didn't really know what they wanted me to do. I didn't really talk to them. I will say, part of, when I went into college, I really did not want to do computer science. And one of the reasons was because my dad was a computer scientist, and my sister also studied computer science at home. So I was like, oh, I want to do something myself. I want to be a lawyer. But after taking the CS class, I really fell in love with it. And I decided that. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the right one. Like, my parents don't really know. Like, my decision to do statistics, they didn't really know about until I called them on the phone and told them I was going to do that. Same with computer science. I think my mom probably would have wanted me to do economics or something more dry, but I think it's what it is. Yeah?
I have a question. So you said that you should try to make decisions with consequences.
Yeah.
And not waste time. So like it seems like an overarching thread is to take action, but being human, like I feel fear and dread whenever I throw myself into like some kind of situation like that, even though I'm a politician. So I was wondering, is it just that you have an innate drive that lets you put yourself out there and say, this is what I have to do? And if that's so, how can somebody who lacks something, maybe like environmental, how can they emulate it, or how can they also achieve something on that same level? Is there like a...
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question is, part of what I was saying is like take action and experiment. A lot of people are afraid of doing that, and the question is that something that you can innately overcome, or is that something that you can overcome, or is that something that's just innate and something that you're born with? I'm a strong believer that you can train these abilities. If you knew me as a little kid, I was afraid of like a lot of things. I was afraid of heights, I was afraid of speaking publicly, I was afraid of a lot of things. And these are things that I consciously decided to overcome. It's something that you can train, it's something that you can start off. So if you guys have ever seen, whatever. But it's something that you can start off practicing. So one good example I have is like, within your family, you should be making decisions for your family. You should be making decisions for yourself. And that's a good way to start because those consequences are slightly smaller and they have less arching like impacts. If you like fail, it's not as big of a deal. It's not embarrassing if you fail. And those are ways to like start developing your decision-making ability. And I think once you get over some of those examples, just a jump. But yeah, I definitely understand. It's like hard. It's like you will fail, and there will be times when you fail embarrassingly so. But yeah, it's something that you have to start now. It's better to do it now than when you're 30 or than when you're 25.
So like, you know how when you say sports is a good incubator to be competitive.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to train, do you believe that you can train it? What would be like the requirement to incubate myself?
Yeah, good question. Actually, you know, one of the best things is Boy Scouts. I think at school, your social situation changes every year. You have new friends, you have new classes, and it takes like a whole year before you can become a leader in a club or a group. In Boy Scouts, the transition happens every 6 months, and everyone is trying to do it. Everyone is like vying for a position, and that's like a great laboratory of experimentation in which you can experiment and test those skills. So like Boy Scouts is a good example. I would say there's like probably, yeah, like if you're in like a sports team, like a team, that's a good example. Well, otherwise, just like running your own project. Like if you think of a project idea, running off and jumping and trying to do that. It can start at a smaller scale and then grow bigger.
Okay, can we give one more round of applause for Willie Xiao?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Grace, and our next speaker is Andy Zane. Andy went to Walton High School, and he won the Georgia 2009 Presidential Scholar Award, given to one male and a female each year in each state. He then studied at Harvard University, majoring in economics. After he graduated, he turned down several job offers in order to start his own business. Right now, he has his own company, Hearth Humanities, a humanities-based learning center that teaches reading and writing systematically, offers test prep, and does educational consulting. In addition to his successful business, Andy is also involved in the Harvard recruitment process. Therefore, today he will be sharing about leadership and college admission from an insider's perspective. Without further ado, please welcome Andy Zane.
Hi, thanks so much for taking the time to come and listen to what Willie and I have to say. Willie, great job, man. Tough act to follow, and actually you took some of the stuff I was going to say today. So that's actually really interesting. So today I just want to share some small experiences, observations that I have. As a student who's always been interested in reading and writing, and now as someone who teaches reading and writing for my company, Hearth Humanities, and as an entrepreneur, just some observations. So first, leadership. Leadership is a really interesting, is that better?
Yeah.
All right. Leadership is a really interesting concept. Ever since, nowadays it's kind of the buzzword. In college admissions, in the workplace, everyone wants to be a leader, and everyone wants to see leadership from other people. But ever since I was little, leadership, I heard it while growing up, it was always a very broad and blurry, fuzzy word to me. What exactly is leadership? Is it Is it something that you can pinpoint? Is it a very specific thing that you exhibit? Or is it an effect of a combination of things you do? Like, is it tangible or intangible? And just throughout my high school experience and then college, meeting so many people who come onto the Harvard campus and who give talks, you see all kinds of people who have very different personalities. And these are all leaders who've accomplished great things. So sometimes I think people who are considered leaders, they're as different as they are great. And also, is leadership something that you have to be famous or you have to be super accomplished to exhibit, or can leadership be exhibited in small places in your daily lives, no matter who you are? Well, those are two questions that I asked when I thought about leadership for today. So again, I want to talk through the perspective of reading and writing because I've always enjoyed doing those two things. I now teach it and hopefully give you guys some insight into leadership, especially pertaining to the college process. All right, I think of leadership as, what is leadership? I think of it as, it has three parts. First you have passion, and then comes vision. How do you hold that? I just want to see if it was working. Okay, so 3 steps to leadership. Passion, vision, and action. It's first is how you feel, then it's what you see, and then lastly it's what you do. So one of the most common questions I get from students and parents at the Learning Company is, how do we stand out in high school? How do we put together a strong profile? And there's really no specific concrete answer to that because there's so many things you can do in high school, and as a student, everyone is different. You each have your own strengths and weaknesses. So instead of offering concrete answers, I think it's better for me to offer a way to look at things and figure things out for yourself. And so here it is: passion, vision, and action. First off, let's talk about passion. In the past year, one of the most common questions I've received is from students and parents or from family friends is, why are you back in Georgia after graduating college? And then why are you doing education? And it's a really great question because most of my classmates after graduating from Harvard, they go to big companies in New York, California, and they kind of start their lives there. But I came back home. But thinking more about the question, I think the question sheds light on 2 concepts for me that are at tension, and these concepts are success and fulfillment. To start off, I think we all live in a world that emphasizes realistic expectations and very concrete examples of success. So maybe the fact that Willie and I both got into Harvard is a very concrete example of success. But throughout college, I've asked myself a lot about what I want to do after school, and it's always come down to fulfillment and success. I think the difference for me is success is defined by people around you. It's defined by your family or your friends or society, and fulfillment is defined by yourself. So it comes internally.